In the dankest, darkest, most dismal place on the internet lives the dankest, darkest, most dishonest creature that ever walked the flat earth. But it wasn't always that way. Once upon a time, a couple called Mr. and Mrs. Riley loved each other very much, and they made a baby together. Full of joy over the little bundle of hair and froth and stupidity that they'd produced, they named it Anthony, which in their language meant terrible mistake.
So Anthony grew up and became ever more obnoxious and unpleasant to anyone and everyone, especially people smarter than him. But when he discovered dictionaries and how he could cherry-pick the meanings of words to win arguments, and by win I mean lose, lose and lose again, Anthony decided the field of law was his natural home, full as it was of people who wielded words like scalpels. Unfortunately, he wielded words like a child wields a small family car. And it was whilst failing to become a lawyer that he realized an amazing thing. When he told a lie to someone more stupid than him, someone who didn't even realize it was a lie, those stupider people cheered and waved and gave money to him, and helped to fund a laughable attempt to get the flat earth taught in schools. Soon, almost every word that tumbled from his drooling mouth was a lie. Lies about history, lies about science, and lies about words themselves. And when people who weren't quite so stupid pointed out his lies, he'd lie about that too. Very soon, Riley's web of lies became so thick and sticky and all-consuming that he neither knew nor cared what was true and what wasn't. As long as some people loved him and applauded him, it didn't matter what they loved and applauded him for. Their adulation and worship nurtured him, enabling him to grow fat and greasy and even more dishonest, proclaiming the most transparent of lies as truth. No longer could he stand the light of inquiry, of facts and of observations, and he turned his back on them all, retreating into the fetid darkness of his lair, where he lay in his own excrement, fingering the pages of his only friends, his precious dictionaries. But after a while, quite a while to be honest, because most of his adoring cheerleaders had long since abandoned him, Riley heard a tiny, weeny little voice outside.
Riley?
It wheezed.
Riley, where are you? Have you deserted me?
Riley's hairy matted ears pricked up. Could it be? No, surely not. He crawled towards the entrance to his lair and saw a hunched, bald silhouette.
It is,
he cried.
It f***ing is.
It was his chief handmaiden and top cheerleader, Ranty. A warm sensation flooded over Riley and he dribbled a little into his underwear.
It's me, Riley,
came Ranty's croaky voice.
Me, Ranty Flat Earth.
Riley's pants were now drenched, but even as he reached out a twisted, gnarled hand towards his old friend, a spiteful little voice inside him whispered, "No, f*** him, he's a c***." Riley paused for a long, long moment.
Fair enough,
he shrugged, and bellowed at Ranty, who was by now quivering with excitement.
Off. I've never heard of this, Riley. Even if I had, it's up to you to prove he existed, which you can't do because I've deleted any reference to him. Riley who? Is he in the dictionary? Maybe you mean Filey or Kylie. Could be Thiley.
Outside, Ranty sank to his skinny little knees and clamped his paws over his ears. He didn't want to hear it. He didn't want to believe that his friend was no more, and that he was now alone on flat Earth.
No,
he sobbed, banging his rumpled little face against the ground.
It's not true, it's not.
But in reply, all he could hear from the darkness of the lair were the sounds of the pages of dictionaries being stroked.
Highly,
came the thick, phlegmy voice of the creature once known as Anthony Riley.
Niley, Riley. There's no Riley here.
As the poor sad creature continued to rattle off random rhyming words from his vast assortment of dictionaries, Ranty pulled himself to his feet, wiping away the salty tears.
Well, you then.
He growled in his little northern accent.
You, Lieley.
The voice of the creature stopped for just a moment, and then continued as if Ranty had said nothing at all.
Wiley. Biley. Tiley.
No, Lieley.
Screamed Ranty, waving his fist in the air like people used to do back then.
Lieley. Lieley Riley. Lieley Riley.
And then, with a cold, dead heart, Ranty turned his back on the blackened, shattered remains of what had once been the closest thing he'd ever had to a friend, and set off back to the flat earth that he loved so much, and yet somehow managed to debunk with every video he produced. And so, boys and girls, that's how the Lieley got his name. Good night.